He doesn't want to see it. He doesn't want to see it. You know what? You know what? You know what the result of that study is? The result of that study is that there are things that happen to some of the workers that you would expect of people that are working outside. So, for instance, some of the workers have higher cases of melanoma. But the main conclusion of that study is the happy worker syndrome. And we talk about this all the time. When the health commissioner was doing his study, did he consider the health effects of poverty and unemployment? It makes a difference. And Australia, in their 27-year study, has determined that their workers are happier in this happy worker syndrome after 27 years because they're taken care of well in the industry. That money, as Assemblyman Crouch was talking about, comes back into the communities, and everybody is better. What we're seeing in North Dakota is unbelievable. They are the fastest growing economy in the country, and we should be doing the same thing here in New York.
What do we do now?
So when we talk about engaging in battles, we have a champion here in Broome County that has engaged a few herself. So our next speaker is our county executive, Debbie Preston. She's fighting for jobs and promoting economic development a top priority, and has been a constant supporter of our landowners.
I have a lot to say, but before I get on with my spiel, I do have a statement from Senator Libous, who is in Albany, but he didn't want you to think that he forgot you, so I would like to read what he has sent. Dear friends, I regret that I couldn't be with you today, but my responsibilities as Deputy Majority Leader called me to Albany early. I'm very disappointed by the governor agreeing with the Department of Health's decision to ban natural gas hydrofracking. 35 other states have ruled that the process can be safely regulated, but yet New York can't figure it out. It's most unfortunate for our farmers, landowners, retailers, hospitality, and construction workers looking for growth and opportunity. Natural gas development is one of our last hopes for creating real jobs in the southern tier. Banning this process is the easy way out rather than standing up to those who spread fear. You've all worked really hard to convince the governor and the Departments of Health and Environmental Conservation that we should develop our natural gas resources. While we figure out what our next best step is, I ask that you don't give up hope. This is a setback, but we have to keep fighting. Sincerely yours, Senator Tom Libous. Thank you, Senator. Okay. December 17th, I was in Washington, and I was in Washington getting help for the southern tier because we need help in creating jobs. But then I get news when I'm in Washington, I get called out of a meeting because I have to hear that our governor, the dictator, has said no, that you cannot use your land for what you want. You thought you owned that land, but you really don't. I don't think we really do own our land if someone can tell us that we do not have the right to use it for what we want. Now, I have always believed in safe natural gas drilling, and I still believe in that. I have been with this group since day one, and a good friend of mine, Dan Fitzsimmons, is here, and I'll never forget the day he called me and said, Debbie, I want to start this type of coalition, and do you think that we can get enough people together and we could have it at the church in the town of Conklin? I said, yeah, let's give it a shot. Well, the church was way too small, and it's grown and it's grown. But you know what? I've been sitting up here as the other speakers were up here, and you're too quiet. I'm afraid that you're giving up, and we cannot give up. We just have to fight Albany, and we have to fight harder. I don't really care how much money they got coming in from Hollywood, because this isn't Hollywood. And we are hurting in the southern tier, and we need jobs. And you can take your Hollywood dollars, and you can go back to Hollywood. Because you know, Governor, if you don't understand how we're suffering down here now, I hear that he is saying that, you know, the southern tier is really suffering. Well, I don't know if he knows where the southern tier is, because the same day I heard that we weren't getting a casino, and he had us in with the Finger Lakes. I bought a new map because I figured, well, somebody changed the map. I had an old map, and I looked at it, and the southern tier was still the southern tier, but they sort of wrapped us into the Finger Lakes. Then I look and I remember, you know what? Look who the lieutenant governor is. And who got the Buffalo Billions? Now, how did that happen? Now, this is political. Yeah.
People up on the 11th floor from New Jersey. They're anti-fracking. Let's wake them up. No!
You may have What I have to say to you as your county executive, and I know that some people that have been in my position have now recently changed their views on fracking. I am not going to do that. I am here to support you any way I can. I've been reading your cause. I will fight for this. We need jobs. We need to support our unions. People are leaving New York State, and I wonder why. Does it mean that these other 35 states don't know what they're doing? No, it means that New York does not know what they're doing. And that means that our governor is out of touch with the people of the Southern Tier. And today, I ask you, Governor Cuomo, to please come and visit the Southern Tier, and please come and see how we are living and how our people are getting along, because we need jobs here. You made this decision, now you come down and you answer our questions, because we in the Southern Tier are waiting for your answers. I want you to keep up the fight. I'm with you every step of the way. God bless you, and we will make the Southern Tier the best in New York State. Thank you.
How can we lose with leaders like this? Thank you so much. That's exactly right, Vic. Did everybody hear that? We're just getting started, aren't we? All right. So, every now and then, someone will come out with a poll and they'll say, well, you know, the Southern Tier is not quite so sure about what's going on. Well, I keep pointing them to the elections. All you need to do is look at the elections. Forget the polls. Take a look at the elections. And from our county all the way to Western New York, who holds the office? Every single one, all the way across, is someone who is in favor of natural gas development. Every single one. And we had a congressional race just this past election season, and that was a glaring example, right? We had Congressman Tom Reed running against one of the biggest antis out there, Martha Robertson from Ithaca, New York, and demolished her, right? There was no question about it. So when anybody says to you the polls are split on this, people aren't quite so sure, look at Congressman Reed's race. Look at every one of the races here. Look at the people who ran unopposed. Look at Senator Libous. Look at Senator O'Mara. We see what's happened. Senator Chris Friend ran unopposed. This is what's going all the way across. Senator Kathy Young, all the way to Bill Nojay, all the way to Cattaraugus County. We are in support. Our legislators support us, and we appreciate their help, especially them being here today. Now, Congressman Tom Reed wanted to be with us. He's in Washington instead. He was first elected to represent the 29th District of New York in a special election held in November 2010. His district includes Allegheny, Cattaraugus, Chautauqua, Chemung, Ontario, Schuyler, Seneca, Steuben, Tioga County, Tompkins County, and Yates County. And in 2011, Congressman Reed was appointed to the Committee of Ways and Means and currently co-chairs the Congressional Natural Gas Caucus. His district representative, Joe Sempolinski, is here, and we're really happy that he could join us. Joe?
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for all being here. I had a little problem that I was really happy I had a problem. I couldn't find a place to park. I just drove over from Corning. That's where Congressman Reed lives. That's where I live. That's where our main office is. And I got here and I couldn't find any place to park. I'm like, well, this must be a big crowd. And I got in and goodness gracious, it is a big crowd. So I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for not taking no for an answer. I want to thank our teammates because governing is a team sport. We all work together. The state senators, the state assemblymen, the county executive, we all work very well together. And I think you have a very articulate and passionate group of folks representing you that you heard from before I got up here, and they do a great job. So it was a very disappointing day when the governor, and he says he didn't have anything to do with it. I don't know. The governor made his decision. You know, it was decided on public health. You know what? Public health is important. Everyone in this room feels that public health is important. Amen. And sometimes folks on the other side try to mischaracterize that and say we don't care. We do care. Public health is important. And every other state that has a shale play has looked at the public health ramifications of tapping into that. And every other state has made the determination that it's safe. The President of the United States, now my boss is a Republican, he doesn't always agree with the President, we have to work with him, but the President of the United States feels it is safe. I saw him on the State of the Union say that. However, here in New York, the governor, Mr. Zucker, they feel they know better. I think that's the height of arrogance. I think it's politics. I don't think it's health. But it is a public health issue. We need to, if we're going to have natural gas drilling, we have to do it safe and responsibly. We have to have reasonable regulations. We can do that. Other states have done it. New York, we can do it. There's no reason we can't. But there are other reasons this is an important issue in addition to public health. This is an energy issue. So over Christmas, I happened to be in Virginia on vacation. I saw something I thought I would never see again. I filled my gas tank, and the number didn't start with a 4, it didn't start with a 3, it didn't even start with a 2. $1.99. That doesn't happen by magic. That happens because the United States has tapped into its energy resources, not in New York, but in other portions of the country. That's a real impact on our energy security, something we've been talking about for decades, trying to be energy secure, energy independent. We can do it by tapping into our resources. And when we have an energy issue, we also have a national security issue. We see those prices, the low prices that we're able to pay at the pump, and we're seeing that not only because of what we're dealing with here, but we also have a situation in the Middle East. That should drive the price up. When you have ISIS taking over sections of the Middle East, that should drive the price up. It doesn't. And the reason is because we have the resources here now. And we have to be honest with ourselves. We have in the past had to engage and spend blood and treasure trying to protect some of those natural resources. We don't necessarily have to do that going forward. It's a national security issue. Energy independence keeps us safe, keeps our men and women in the armed forces out of harm's way. It's not just a public health issue, it's not just an energy issue, it's not just a national security issue, it's a jobs issue. I'm so happy to have the union movement here today. And I thank the Joint Landowners Coalition for inviting us. We also had some of the unions reach out directly to our office and invite us to come. The jobs in the gas fields are real jobs, but it's not just them. If you want to place a factory, what are you going to look for? Well, one of the things you're going to look for is stable utility rates. You're going to look for being able to tap into the infrastructure that we can put in place if we have safe, responsible gas drilling. So it's not just going to be direct jobs, it's going to be thousands and thousands of indirect jobs. It's going to be the person that owns the coffee shop or the diner that's able to sell their product to the people that are going to have money to buy it, have money in their pocket. That's what this is about. Jobs through all sectors of the economy. In the hospitality industry, there's going to be a lot more hotels. We're staying in hotels, there'll be a lot more hotels if we have gas drilling. We're going to have everybody impacted. It doesn't just affect the few, it affects the jobs and livelihood of every sector of the economy. And last, it is a property rights issue. I'm so happy to see that banner protecting our property rights. This is America. You should be able to use your property responsibly as you see fit. If you own the mineral rights to your land, you own the mineral rights to your land and should be able to access them. And so moving forward, I work for, as it was stated, Congressman Reed, who's a federal representative. We're trying to find a way that we can work on the federal level to try and mitigate some of the fallout of this. One of the things we're looking strongly at is considering the ruling that came down as a property taking. Get a taking sign there. There we go. Unlawful government taking is tyranny. So thank you, sir, for having that sign. So that's where we're going to be focusing our federal legislative efforts. If someone takes something from you, someone diminishes the value of your property without your consent, you deserve to be compensated. And when Governor Cuomo, hopefully, someday has to pay you for what he did to you out of his budget, I think that may get the bully's attention. So, in closing, I know you're frustrated. I know you're angry. And there's a lot of folks in our area that are poor. Congressman Reed, myself, our whole staff, we're frustrated, we're angry too. Congressman Reed lives in Corning in the house he grew up in. He's from the southern tier. I grew up in the Painted Post area, I live in Corning. I'm tired of seeing my friends and neighbors have to move somewhere else. I'm tired of seeing senior citizens that can't afford the property taxes to stay in their home. I'm tired of educating the best and brightest and having them go somewhere else to create jobs and build their future. This is a way to stop that outflow. So don't give up. Your leadership on the elected side is with you, locally, but we need to all work together. We need to all let the governor know that we are not going to take no for an answer. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you, Congressman Reed. That was great. All right, we have just a couple more speakers, a few more speakers, but we've heard from our elected officials. What we want to do now is we want you to hear from people who are impacted by this directly. And one of the biggest impacts that we've seen, we were working with them directly, is the union, laborers, right? Jobs. So we've got some union representatives here, and they want to address you today to let you know what they think about this. Our first speaker is going to be Jim Brown from the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Union, Local 112. Jim?
Thanks, Scott. As Scott said, I'm Jim Rounds. I'm the business manager of the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local Union 112. I'm also the financial secretary treasurer and past president of the Binghamton Oneonta Building Trades. I grew up in Windsor, New York, and I am a lifelong resident of Broome County. And I'm mad as hell. Why? Because Albany has said no to the much-needed jobs in our area. Yet the state itself just released the figures. Binghamton, along with Utica, have the highest unemployment rates in the state. Of the 400 plus working members of Local 112, we currently have 37 working out of town, living in a motel at their own expense. They're away from their families in order to make ends meet. But they're the lucky ones. We also have 89 members who are currently not working at all. Some have totally exhausted their unemployment benefits. Some have lost their health insurance. Some are having trouble paying their bills and are in danger of losing their home. We need these jobs.
Amen.
And it's not just the jobs associated with the gas, extracting the gas. It's all the other jobs that would come if the natural gas infrastructure were in place. The possibilities are endless. I'd even like to have the opportunity to have natural gas at my home, just like so many of those that are against gas development have in their home. But Albany has decided it's not safe. What really is 100% safe?
No.
Is driving always safe? Is it always safe to cross the street?
No.
Is putting a manufacturing plant in your town 100% safe?
No.
Is it always a safe working environment for the men and women who build our roads and bridges?
No.
They put their lives in danger every day. How about for those of us that build any type of building, including your home? Is that always safe? The answer is no, but we still do them. We have to. It's called progress. Those of us in the building trades live with this every day. We recognize the dangers and mitigate them as much as possible by providing the best trained, most skilled labor force in the area. Instead of outright banning all drilling because they feel it's not safe, Albany should be saying, what can we do to address our concerns? Don't just throw your hands in the air and say it can't be done. Put a team together so we can develop this valuable resource. There are a lot of very intelligent people, not only in this state, but in the country. If we can put a man on the moon and bring him back home again, if we can develop drugs to cure just about anything, why can't we come up with a way to do this? Let's get to work, New York. We need these jobs. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Our next speaker is going to be Scott Colton. Scott's from the Northeast Regional Council of Carpenters, Local 277. Scott?
You know, Dr. Zucker, I'm concerned about my family too and my child. You know, I'm so concerned that I brought her with me here tonight. About 2 years ago, myself and four of my colleagues had the opportunity to tour Bradford County with a couple of the Bradford County commissioners. And we went to sites they were drilling on, sites that were reclaimed, drove us down roads that they told us that prior to the gas industry we couldn't drive on. They talked about how their Social Security system, that they were, in the county, they were actually importing work from other counties to keep their people employed by the Social Security in that county busy, because there wasn't enough work for them to keep busy. They talked about how their unemployment rate was next to nothing. All right, when was the last time our unemployment rate was next to nothing? And when you talk about children, as we drove by ball fields, Little League fields, you know what they talked about? How the kids were getting new equipment, new uniforms, were able to travel at no cost to their parents because of the gas industry. When the flood hit in 2011, they didn't know what to do because Sarah, Pennsylvania was hit as hard as Owego, New York. They reached out to one of the their gas partners down there and said, we need help. They said, what do you need? We need dump trucks, we need front end loaders. In a week, they had Sarah, Pennsylvania cleaned up. Owego, it took months. Did they get a bill? No. So when you talk about good partners and family, and another thing to talk about, we drove by cemeteries. All right? Instead of having to have volunteers or people come take care of the grave sites, the cemetery associations were able to hire landscapers to take care of the cemetery so that our loved ones who passed, their graves or their tombstones didn't look hideous. You know, so when you talk about family, it all comes around. And they talk about how what wonderful gas, the partners the gas industry is down there. All right? And that was 2 years ago. It creates jobs. Many of our members are still working in Pennsylvania in gas-related industry. All right? Many of our members worked in Horseheads, New York at the Schlumberger facility. Schlumberger invested, what, 60 million in Horseheads because of the fracking? You know, those are all jobs that are important to us. You know, these jobs, and whether they're union or non-union, they're created by gas. All right? I read in the paper here last week where Florida now has surpassed New York State in population. All right, like I said, I brought my daughter here. She's a senior in high school. She'll be going to college. And you know what? In 5 years, when she's out of college, there's a good chance New York might lose 3 more people. You know, and 2 of them might be to Florida. And who knows where my daughter might end up, wherever she has to go to get a job and to pay off her debt she's going to have from going to college. All right? You're reading the paper about the Southern Tier. Yes, it's nice having Binghamton University as an economic engine to drive the economy down here. But when you read the papers, in October, PepsiCo bottling closed right there on Court Street in Binghamton. Next month, Putnam Publishing closing their doors, leaving Binghamton. How many hundreds of jobs is that? Not to mention small businesses, little mom and pop's place like McLennan Flowers and Nico's Diner, they're gone. Who's next? You know, Governor Cuomo, we need help. We need you to lift this ban, and we're going to contact our people, our friends in Albany, whether they're in the Assembly or the Senate, and we're going to say, call the governor, talk to him, tell him to reverse this. And if they say no, trust us in the building trades know how to say no too. And they're going to listen loud, and we're going to make it clear. I want to thank everybody for, you know, showing up tonight. This is a great turnout. And one thing, you know, I know that the anti-people, they're well-funded, and they're very loud, and they're in the minority. But however, this sleeping giant that's in the majority has been woke up, and our voices are going to be heard, Governor. So you better listen up, because we're mad. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Scott. David Marsh is our next speaker. David is from Laborers Local 785.
Hey, I want to see all my union brothers and sisters out there real quick. Where are you? You know, we were very disappointed with the governor's decision. And ironically, for the Southern Tier, it wasn't just fracking, which no doubt has the largest impact on everybody here, but the casino siting on the same day. I mean, how ironic is that? The building trades here locally had negotiated project labor agreements to put our folks to work, our local taxpayers to work on those casinos, whether it was at Taiga Downs or Tradition. So that was a double whammy for us, and it really hurt. So since then, the governor has said that, first of all, he wasn't involved with the decisions. And then maybe we should consider a 4th license for the true Southern Tier. And now he's saying that don't worry, we're going to try to implement the Buffalo Billions concept across, well, he said Rochester, Syracuse, and Ithaca.
We're not for sale.
Now, I don't know if he just forgot Binghamton, New York, and Elmira and Corning. I guess Ithaca is northern part of our area here, but, and by the way, that's where my office is. But I just find it interesting. Over and over again, the Southern Tier seems to not be on the governor's mind. You know, we have wonderful politicians here who have been supportive through this process. For, I don't know, what has it been, 7 years we've been trying to get this done? Has it been that long? 7 years now? 8 years, almost 8 years? You know, our politicians are working hard to try to get this done. Unfortunately, they're not being heard in Albany. The building trades, our members, calling, writing letters, trying to get our chapter in Albany, trying to get this done. The contractor associations, trying to get this done. What's going on here? It just doesn't make sense. So I'll start talking a little bit about our experience as labor when we go to meetings to try to get our projects approved. So when pipelines run from Pennsylvania through New York, and there's 2 that are awaiting approval, and I'll talk about that in a moment, what they actually are, and there's more planned, we're running into difficulty there as well. But at these meetings, these anti-folks say things that aren't true. And one of the things I just want to set straight on the record again is how much work we in New York State have derived from the Pennsylvania boom. Everybody in the trades, at least they were, is working, and because of that, our brothers and sisters to the south have called us for help. What's that mean for the laborers? We cover 8.5 counties, we have 1,000 members, and I don't have 2014 numbers yet, but I'm pretty sure they'll be impressive as well. But in 2011, 12, and 13, 30% of our man hours were our members working in Pennsylvania. If that isn't significant, I don't know what is. And it was a godsend because we don't have work for them in New York. Now we don't have the drilling in New York. I'm blown away. And as Scott said, and as Jim said, the building trades isn't laying down. We're with you. We are fighting hard. We're pushing back, and we will continue to lobby for this to get change. I want to talk about on a personal level a couple of things. First of all, for the landowners, thank you for being our partners. You know, you're out there. By the way, I was a farmer as a kid, so I know what it's like to work with my hands. That's why I ended up in the trades. But I know how hard you work. I know how hard it is because the taxes for farmers have gone up as well. And it's getting astronomical. It's unbelievable what farmers pay in taxes nowadays. And the interesting thing is, if you live in an ag zone, whether you agree with them or not, there's good and bad about the ag zone concept, you're told how you can and can't sell your property. So now, if you're in an ag zone, and now there is no drilling, and you're having trouble meeting your tax burden, what do you do?
Sell it to the NRDC.
Might as well just let them come take it, I guess. I don't know. It's really sad, and some of these farms are probably 4th and 5th generation. There's a lot of pride there. I 7th generation, there you go. I really feel for you, and all I can do is say I'm sorry, and we're not giving up. And I know you won't either. So, I got to talk about a couple of things I would hope the governor will pay attention to. And just interestingly, these 3 projects happen to have natural gas associated with them. I don't know if that's the issue or not. I hope not, because he talks about how his administration will help us get back to work here in the southern tier.
Don't believe him.
So obviously we've already talked about there's the possibility of a 4th casino license in the southern tier. I suspect that the process will require each of them who may apply, and I guess Jeff Burrell has said he is interested in applying again, will have to pay $1 million fee again to apply, so that's a nice, I guess, revenue windfall for the state while we wait to go to work. And then I got 2 other projects that, 3 other projects that are gas related that I want to just mention here, because we want to always try to turn a negative into positive if we can. I'll try to be optimistic and think that maybe these can go forward. So we have right now the State of New York Public Service Commission has the Williams Energy Natural Gas Pipeline in Windsor, New York, case number 13T053 in final approval. That was, public comment was heard on that on February 11th of 2014. In all honesty, we thought we would have this pipeline already built. Don't know what the holdup is, so we're still waiting approval on that. Governor Como approved that, helped the PSC to approve that project so we can go to work. The next one is, the PSC is also reviewing the Cuda Power Plant repowering proceeding, case number 12E0577, that will allow the retrofitting of the Lansing, New York power plant to natural gas power generation. Governor Como, please move that project forward.
Where does he get the gas from?
Well, that's the big debate. It's natural gas, so should we do it? So, yeah, they're building them in Pennsylvania, by the way. Everybody knows that, right? So we'll just let the power come from there, I guess. Interestingly, by the way, I don't want to take too much of your time, but the governor said in his State of the State address in 2012 that we need to have regional power development. Because after Katrina, it came to light that if you don't have power in the region, you could not have power for weeks or months. Now, we don't know. We'll see what he comes up with on that one. Yeah, I guess not. And finally, and then I'll quit, because I could go on and on. Believe me, I'd probably bore the hell out of my family and friends with this shit. This is very important, and I appreciate anybody who wants to support us. Next week, and the first hearing will be Monday at the middle school. Chris, which middle school is it? East Middle School. There'll be public comment on the Constitution pipeline. On the 13th, Tuesday, it'll be in Oneonta, and on Wednesday, it's out in Cobleskill. So the Williams folks were here. If they still are, you can get information from them. They were out the door and a little bit to the right, and if you can come out, if nothing else, to laugh at the sillies making their arguments, because they are a joke. The last one was, the skin is falling off the cows. I mean, come on now, I'm a farmer, I know that shit don't happen. Well, okay, I didn't catch that part. But these public hearings are critical. It's going to be, the FERC has already approved the project. This is the DEC. We all know how difficult the DEC can choose to be. If this project doesn't get approved in the next couple of months by the DEC, we will lose another construction season building the Constitution. That's another year that anyone who is along that line won't enjoy the benefits of the laterals that'll come off that, which will allow them to have natural gas for the schools, the municipalities, and for the homes. There's a plan for all of this, but we got to get the pipeline in first. So that will, for us, for the laborers, create minimum 200 jobs, just to give you some idea of how big of a project it is for us. So we are your neighbors. Again, we apologize that our governor has made poor decisions. I'll tell you from upstate contingency, we have not been supportive of the governor. Obviously in New York City, they are. You know how politics goes. There's more of them than us. So hopefully he is going to actually pay attention and allow these projects to go forward for the building trades folks. Thank you.